Section 8.10 deals with waste reduction methods. How much waste is produced by a nation has a direct correlation to that nation's GDP, which is gross domestic product, or essentially their wealth. The more wealth a country has, the more waste that country is going to produce. MSW is municipal solid waste. It's refuse collected by municipalities from households, small businesses, and institutions. Basically, it's just our regular, what we think of as garbage. What caused this shift from a throwaway to the throwaway society? Industrialization. So we had new materials technology, we had access to energy sources, and it was a cultural shift. Let's prioritize convenience and speed. Let's prioritize just getting the water bottle out of the fridge as opposed to refilling our water bottle. And then we were able to outsource and externalize the costs. So we were able to reduce the cost to make it so that it was affordable to have a throwaway society. How does industrialization lead to developing countries increasing their municipal solid waste? Well, we export our manufacturing and we export our disposal. So our things are manufactured overseas, we ship them in, and then we dispose of them by sending them again overseas. When we look at what makes up our municipal solid waste, most of it is paper and paperboard, which is hard to believe because we can recycle all of that. Food waste is 14%, yard trimmings is 14%, plastics is 13%, and then we get down to the other ones. Food waste and yard trimmings can both be composted, which we'll address later on in this presentation. How much of our municipal solid waste is recycled? About a third of that, but 75% of that that's recycled is paper and food waste. Again, we're ignoring those plastics, and I wish we would just reduce the use of our plastics. If we look at U.S. recycling rates, we've increased our recycling rate of paper pretty noticeably. But if we look at plastic, we're still recycling, as of 2010, about 10% of plastic. That's probably a little higher now, but now the problem is we have nowhere to send our plastic. We used to send our plastic over to China, and now we have nowhere to process it. And we've actually decreased in our recycling of aluminum. What things can we do? We can reduce. Reduce is our best option. Reduce the potential waste materials in the early stage design and manufacturing. Things like buy nothing day. Let's just reduce what we have. If we're going to have to do something else, we're going to go ahead and reuse it. Increase of residence time, or the amount of time that something spends in circulation. It's better if the reuse does not require much additional energy. So things like upcycling, just taking things and reusing them in different ways without having to do a whole lot of processing. And then finally, recycling. Objects are converted to raw materials, which can be used to produce new products. There's two types of recycling. So there's open loop recycling, which converts the material into a new product. So taking your plastic bottle and turning it into a fleece. It requires more energy input. It will produce some waste. It is degrading the product initially, so it's downcycling, and we have this degradation in quality. These are just some examples of overuse of packaging, taking a soda can and wrapping it in plastic, or all of this packaging for this little charger, all of this packaging for those 2 little bottles, or all of that packaging for those 4 printer cartridges, or even packaging things like bananas or oranges, or all this packaging for, I think that's a persimmon. And then we have closed loop recycling. So we're taking something and we're making it back into something. Aluminum cans is always the stereotypical example. We take aluminum cans, we break them down, we make more aluminum cans. We can take carpet fibers, we can make carpet, we can collect it and recycle it and make it back into carpet fibers. Some benefits of recycling: we're going to consume fewer raw materials. We're going to reduce the use of energy in manufacturing and processing. We're going to reduce the need for disposal, and we'll decrease pollutions and emissions. Things that are not so good about recycling: it's not very cost effective. The recycling sites are often not safe. They have contaminants and emissions. New products are lower in quality and not as durable. It's hard to implement on a large scale, and certainly in certain regions. Many types of plastics are not recyclable, and it's not all as efficient. And it gives us this false sense of security. And this is, I think, what bothers me the most about the plastic water bottles. Well, I bought this water bottle, but I can recycle it. But that recycling is really the third tier of a good answer, and it's way down below. If you're going to do any one thing from this course, stop using plastic water bottles. Get your reusable one, or better yet, use your glass at home from the cabinet and just go ahead and wash it. So things that we sort of do now is we sort of try to reduce the source, we recycle and compost, we have some conversion technologies, and then we mostly landfill. And if we really want to make this earth a better place, we want to reverse that. We really want to reduce the source and use landfilling as our least option. Composting is the creation of organic matter. It's decomposition under controlled conditions, and it produces an organic rich material that enhances soil structure. Things like CEC, which is that cation exchange capacity, and fertility. So we need composting in order to put nutrients back into our soil, which is a non-renewable resource. We want to ensure a good C to N ratio. So what we're referring to there is carbon to nitrogen ratio that will boost microbial activity. So we want to layer dry materials like leaves and grass with wet material like kitchen scraps. If we rotate and aerate to provide oxygen, if decomposition occurs anaerobically, meaning without oxygen like it does in landfills because we cover them up every night, we're going to produce methane, which is going to be a drawback, and that's a bad greenhouse gas. We could also have odor and rodents, but I compost at home, and we do open pit composting, and there's no odor or rodents. Hazardous waste, liquid, solid, or gas that has been shown to be harmful to humans or the environment, things like paint, batteries, pesticides, solvents, cleaning agents, varnishes, things for cars, are all considered hazardous waste. There's no good options for it. We chemically treat them, but really source reduction is best. Don't have extra of anything that you need that fits into this hazardous waste category. The legislation that deals with this is CERCLA, or the Superfund Act. It put taxes on chemical and petroleum industries. It funds the cleanup of non-operating hazardous waste sites, and there's quite a few Superfund sites in New Jersey. In fact, probably more per area than any other state. It authorizes federal government to respond immediately to the release of hazardous substances. Brownfields it's a newer federal program, and it's used to clean up industrial sites that don't have Superfund status yet, so we can start making a jump on cleaning up some of these areas. And new ways to think about waste, we want to really think about that cradle to grave, consider all materials and energy used in the lifetime of a product, from raw materials all the way to final disposal. Don't just think of the actual product, but all the energy that went into that product. And things that we can do with landfills. I know we like to look at the one where we turn the landfill into a ski resort, but we can restore the habitat for use as parks.